Okay. First, I want Angel to come up. Oh. Because Angel has just made her art studio into the newest gallery space in Portland, and that's really exciting. And is it for you? I'm just like, oh, huge, huge congratulations. And like, she's got so much work Thank you. And just seeing how to turn an idea into a space that people can come and be a part of the art community in is really, really inspirational. And yeah, thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Well, thank you. I mean, just bare walls without work, right?
Well, same to you. Also, like, Angel has some of her own work in the corner in this shop that she's created as part of the space. So yeah, while you're here, make sure to go check that out. And on Saturday, she has her own show opening at Franklin Photo in St. John's. So that has some new artwork that has not yet been seen in this form. So definitely check that out. Yeah, thank you. So let's see. I'm going to start off by talking about the project that is in the frames in this space. It is a project that's called A Preservation of Character, and I started it in 2021 when I first moved up to Oregon. I had just moved, and I was finding myself running into a lot of paranoia and fear in my daily life. And I didn't really know why that was happening, but it got to this point where it was affecting all aspects of my life. And I was carrying it with me to work, I was carrying it home, and it was manifesting as feeling like my life was in danger for no real tangible reason. And I didn't know how to figure out why this was happening or how to try to get in touch with myself. And so I decided to make a photo project about it. And my hope was that I could use photography as a way to have a little more of a visual conversation. I've always been a very visual thinker and communicator, and so when words fall short, I find that making photos or expressing something in a way other than words helps me get a message to people a lot easier. So I decided, all right, I'm going to use photography to try to talk to myself instead of talk to someone else. And maybe in the process of working with my camera, I can tap into what's going on beneath this surface of protection that I've been building up. I decided I would do this in my home because that was where I felt safest, and I would do it inside my bedroom. Because if I was able to let my guard down somewhere, that was most likely to be the place. And I chose the act of removal as a way to try to jumpstart this letting go of this protective layer. And I was thinking through ways that I could use the action of removal to get at this, and I chose three things. One was clothing, and clothing acted as a very physical, literal layer of protection between me and the world, and layers that I could physically hide behind. And being naked is such an inherently vulnerable thing. It felt like a way to physically kind of trick my brain into being in a state of vulnerability. And that's what I was hoping I could get from it. And then the next thing I decided to remove was my hair. And I also thought of my hair as that physical protection, but beyond that, it carried a lot more with it. It was a way to show, it felt like a way to show my gender, and sometimes that felt like a target on my back when I was in public. It also felt like something that had been a witness to this closing off that had happened. That hair had been with me throughout the time that I went through this like seclusion. So my hope was that in cutting off the hair, I might be able to get at what was lying underneath that. And the third removal was my environment. I knew that I didn't want to be distracted by my everyday life as I took these photos. I needed to build a space that was stripped down to textures and minimal things that didn't make me think of my to-do list or my personal life that I have reminders of in my bedroom. So I built a space, and I used things like blankets and packaging material and fabrics and boards, things that really were just textures when I was surrounded by them. And so those three things became a weekly ritual. I would undress, I would shave my head, I would create a unique space for that week's photos, and I would spend the whole day in that space with my camera. And while I was in that space, I would be feeling a texture like a soft fuzzy blanket against my skin, and I'd be feeling the warm light coming in through my bedroom window. And that space acted as kind of a safety box, like a little cradle that I could just let my guard down in enough to rest. Because without even realizing it, I was exhausted all the time. You know, even when it's subconscious, feeling like you're in fight-flight mode and you have to protect yourself, there's so much energy draining that comes with that. So to have a space where I could look around me, know I was absolutely certainly safe, and let the emotions come up that needed to come up in a space like that was really important. So when Angel asked if I could show this work here, I looked back at this project, and I was really resonating with the experience of cutting my hair at the time. I felt like that was something that I wanted to talk about a little more and make more space for. And so I had this video footage that I made for the initial shaving of my head. And I had just put it on my hard drive and forgotten about it. And I decided, okay, this is the time and place. Let's turn that into a reflection on the experience. So right now it's muted, but it's about a 2-minute long video, and it talks about what led to cutting my hair and how I've thought about that as an action in my life over many years beyond just this project. And I want to talk a little bit about that. For most of my life, I had hair that was about to my waist. And over the years, when I considered cutting it, I would mention it to people in my life, and everyone always responded with this resounding dissent or kind of horror at the thought of cutting off such long hair. And that was enough for me to not cut it for many years. I figured, I don't feel so strongly about it. If it's gonna upset the people that I love, then I just won't. And when I finally did feel emboldened to cut it, and I did, I had such a deep sense of relief from the experience. And I realized that hair was carrying so much with it, and it was projecting this outdated, old version of myself. And maybe it was convenient for people who knew me to see me as the same me that they might have known from the beginning, but it was a false identity that I was carrying around for their convenience. I've talked to a lot of people who have had really similar experiences with their hair, and I can understand and I can imagine that as a loved one of someone else who wants to cut their hair, it's probably not just the act of cutting hair that we're feeling, whether it's conscious or subconscious. We're not wanting to let go of the version of someone that we know. And I think that that's a natural response, and that we need to be a little more aware of it. Because something as simple as a haircut or the way someone dresses can have such a deep effect on their mental health. And just to recognize within ourselves we love a person, we can continue to love them and appreciate them as they change. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I think I was able to get so much relief out of this experience, and I know other people who felt similar. So I have this reflection. I also found myself looking through the photos that I had taken over the years, and I found all of these photos of my hair when I had given myself a haircut, like before and after this project. And I realized I have this compulsion to photograph the hair itself once it's off of me. And I wasn't quite sure why, but I wanted to give it some thought, because it was a pattern over the years. Multiple times I always went back to these similar photos. And I realized the hair, it doesn't feel like an object that I'm discarding. It feels much more like a living thing, this entity that has gone through life with me, and it's experienced the same memories, experiences, emotions that I have in the time that I've grown that hair out. And by cutting it off, there's this kind of ritualistic release and therapeutic way of saying goodbye and moving on from things that have happened, from places that I've been. And so to look at the hair on the ground and photograph it feels kind of like a portrait. It's a way to honor, remember, while also letting go of it. And as I think about this whole show and this project originally, it was very much that letting go, finding ritual, finding a grounding space to be able to recognize what I needed to move on from, that was subconsciously what I needed going into the project. And I think that this is one example of how a person can heal. And there are endless, countless examples of how other people can heal. And when I think back on what I got from this project, I realize I need something like that again. Like, I look around at the world and my instinct is to shrivel up and to be able to counteract that, I need to really actively take care of myself. And I think that we all need that. And it's good to remember we all find healing in different ways, and there's no one path that gets us to a place where we're then healthy enough to take care of others. But if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't try to check in on ourselves, then we can't expect ourselves to be able to support other people in our lives and collectively try to heal. So here's my pouring some love out into the world. Try to check in with yourself and see how you're doing, what you need right now. Because if we all take some time and space, even when it's hard to do that, I think we can find space to be supportive of other people more as well. I want to take a minute, as you look around, as you hear these words, does anyone have any thoughts or questions about the work? Yes.
I have lots of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the easier one first. So what do you think people can take away from your photographs if they don't hear the story that goes with it? Because I think the story is super interesting, but I don't know if I would have gotten that by just the pictures. And the second question is, it's interesting to me that you give so much a character to the hair itself, like the first thing you said about it was a witness to everything that happened, like giving it life, kind of. But hair is dead, right? I mean, the only part that's alive is the root. So why is it important to you, or what did that serve to give it like a personality? Like the hair was actually almost a person. So those are the two questions.
Alright, I'm gonna start with the second one. There aren't many things that I'm very conscious of growing on me that I keep with me for a long time. Like my nails could continue to grow if I let them, but I don't. They get trimmed really frequently. But my hair is something that can live through years with me, and as I'm living, it's continuing. So I guess when I cut it, I see it as representing the length of time that it grew. And even though, yes, you're technically right, that hair is dead when I cut it off, it's a physical representation of time. So my weekly little nail clip doesn't feel as emotionally heavy to me because I do lots of things in a week, and a week, while a lot can change in a week, it doesn't have the same weight as shaving off 6 years. So I guess emotionally, symbolically, it feels alive. I know it's physically, literally dead, but it's the length of time that it holds that makes me feel that connection to it. I think that's my easy answer. And for looking at the work without the words that I've shared, I think that we all take things away differently from images, and I know that as I look at the portraits, I'm projecting the emotions and thoughts that I'm having now or that I was having then kind of into the portrait, and that's a personal experience. And I hope that if there's not a long statement, somebody else can project where they're at and find some kind of connection in seeing another face and looking in another person's eyes in that way. But definitely, I don't expect you to get everything I just said out of looking at that photo. And I guess with the hair, if I were to look at these photos of hair, they would make me curious. I would want to figure out what was going on because, yeah, it feels like a start to a question or a kind of a provoking of making us think about hair in general. And when we're here to talk about this, that's exactly what I want, is to be able to answer questions that come up. But otherwise, I guess you're limited to the shorter statement that is at the entrance, because I do feel like I want the photos to always be accompanied by some level of information that goes with them. And some people feel the opposite. Some people like their photos to not have any information at all, and for the viewer to have 100% of their own interpretation. But I guess if you catch me talking or if you catch the statement, you're going to get a different level of my personal experience with the work out of it. Does that answer that? Yeah.
Was there an intention or thought behind having the photos split into the 4 quadrants like there?
Yeah. So the
I'm sorry,
whole-
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I asked about having the photos split into the 4 quadrants.
The whole installation of the show has been me trying to move away from thinking of a photo project and an exhibition as a precious kind of, every photo has to be matted and framed on a plain white wall. I think that is a very nice, clean